have to start right away. All right. Hey, everyone. This is episode 377 being recorded on December 17th, 2019. December 17th, 2019. There we go. Got to mute that. And there we go. Got to mute that. Oh, there's another one. Hang on. There we go. Got to mute that. Oh, there's another one. Hang on. There we go. Got to mute that. Oh, there's another one. Hang on. There we go. Got to mute that. Oh, there's another one. Oh, wow. Where's that one coming from? Oh, wow. Where's that one coming from? Oh, wow. Where's that one coming from?
I have no sound right now. The other one was me typing on the show notes.
Okay, I think I figured it out. Wow, okay. So this is episode 377 being recorded on December 17th of 2019. And Doc is here, but he is fighting a bug, so he is going to do this off camera. We're going to hear him but not see him. And I think we've already heard him coughing a little bit, understandably. So I hope you feel better soon, Doc. And we'll get going as soon as we can. Yeah, I usually keep that particular thing muted, but then it wasn't muted, so it started doing the feedback thing. All right, I'm going to tweet this out, and then we'll get going on the actual show.
Hey, we should just use your poll about your cosplay character as the mind trap.
It's kind of, we'll use it as sort of a substitute for it, sure. All right. Wow, that was loud. All right, I'll retweet it as well. Okay. And Doc, do you need some more time, or are you about ready?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. That's fair, and we should probably keep it going. Get it moving right along for you, so that we can get you back to feeling better. All right, so I'm ready. Do you have your Audacity rolling?
Yep.
Good. Mine's rolling too. And okay. And going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast. This is the way. This is episode 377 being recorded on Tuesday, December 17th, 2019. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, Dr SWTOR. Hey, Doc, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's going to be awesome. If you don't guard me, I'm going to take over.
That's cool. You sound a little is your mic a little loud right now? It sounds a little hot. Like it's pegging, and it's making it a little it's not sounding as clear. I know, and it's not just because you're fighting a bug, because I know you're fighting a bug.
I don't see anything irregular on my side.
Okay. All right. Let me see. All right, we'll deal with that then. That sounds fine. Okay, so what have you been up to in game this since the last show?
All right. Well, I have been assaulted by an affliction of the Force the last 8 days of my life.
Oh my gosh, 8 days?
Yes. It's been terrible. Out of the last 6 work days, I've attended 2.5 of them.
Oh.
And I've done 2 lectures with fevers. But one of the classes I'm teaching is actually tests and measurements. And that class is about psychological assessment. And so even though we're in week 2, so I've done week 1 and 2 of that course since our last recording, Chill.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first class where the obvious thing for me to talk about is the SWTOR study that I did years ago. Because I need to have sample data on the screen that I can play around with and show them how to do basic tests, or show them what a nominal scale is or an ordinal scale is.
Oh, cool.
And so one of the things I got to show them is just the sample data of character creation and what species the avatars were for those 503 people. in the 4.0 era of the game. And it was really neat to just break out the data and have Twi'lek and have Human and have Cyborg be floating all over my screen during my lecture. And then, you know, Sith Warrior and Jedi Knight. And it's just fun. My class probably thinks I'm a super dork, but they're taking this class with me the week that Rise of Skywalker comes out. So
yeah,
they have no escape. It's just, right. I actually told them the story about coming on to OotiniCast as a listener and just being a doctoral candidate at the time, and how that whirlwind storm kind of picked me up and put me on this show full time. And so it's really neat. This is the first time teaching where Dr. SWTOR and Dr. Kaufman are clearly the same person, and I'm having a lot of fun with it.
That is cool.
Now, as far as being in game, I've done some veteran mode ops like my normal schedule. I haven't streamed ever since my face started looking more like the Emperor than myself. But just because, not because I'm really self-conscious, it's more that first op when I came back after I first got sick, I was like coughing while doing my rotation. It was not something where I wanted people to, you know, you can just not hold down push to talk and it'll be okay.
Right.
But if you're streaming, even if you turn the webcam off, your mic is live for those people.
Yeah.
And I just didn't feel comfortable trying to hold it together for 3 hours. But
yeah, that would be nasty.
Yeah. So Marcus is doing really good progress as our tank.
Oh, cool.
And he's become a lot more comfortable. But I have a neat story if we have time for it. True. We were doing a op, and it was on. I don't remember if it was Saturday or if it was like an extra op on Saturday or if we were doing a Sunday one. But we had one pug member. We were doing a group finder op. Okay. And we cleared the op. And so it's the 7 of us who are raiding with each other intentionally. And it's this one other person who just typed random polite things about knowing the mechanics and knowing the strategy and, you know, just interacting like a nice pug person.
Yeah.
And so the second the final boss got killed, Marcus clicked on him and kicked him from the group.
Oh.
And right. And because he's an AIE and he's had a really nice life where he only has to run things with people he knows. He's never pugged an op before, apparently. So I started giving him a hard time because I was like, what did that guy do to you? Because it pops up on all our screens, vote to kick. I'm just like, I'm not voting to kick this guy. He was nice. But the op's over. We don't need him anymore. I thought that's what you do. And so we were all giving him a hard time about how heartless Marcus is and hateful towards all other players for not being in AIE. It was one of the purest, most joyful laugh fits that I've had in the game ever, because you know this poor guy just unceremoniously discarded. We don't need you to DPS anymore. And
that's funny.
You know, because you know, once the group finder op's over, you have to disband the group anyway. So like it just felt like thanks, F you. So it was just great. That was the one standing out moment of my last 2 weeks. The other cool thing is I did hit a parsing milestone. I won't say which boss it was because I know we have tons of listeners that have god level DPS and they'll just go ruin it for me. But when we were doing an op, some people mentioned that my numbers looked really strong during one of the fights. So I went on Parsley to see what the best lightning sork parse on that boss happened to be.
Okay.
And it was mine. So I uploaded it. And so even though it's not the training dummy on the ship,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I did accomplish my goal. I got into one spot on Parsley where my tune is the first one on the Sorcerer Lightning list.
Nice.
And I've been trying so hard for weeks just to carve out my slice of DPS Hall of Fame. And I don't feel like I have to chase that anymore, honestly. I just, it was a nice thing. You never know like when it's going to happen. So that was fun. And before I ask you about your week, Chill, who's with us today?
Yeah, well, first of all, Marcus is here.
Hey, Marcus, I hope you enjoyed the story.
Yeah, we got going a little bit late today, so the list hasn't really updated yet, but we do have Eric is here, Swordmaster.
Hi, Eric.
And Marcus, Working Class Nerds are all definitely here. So hey, everyone. And I'm sure more people are joining, but just don't show up on the list yet. So since the last show, I decided to level up a Deadpool cosplay character. I know people have done them before, but then I thought about it and was like, well, which class should I be doing? So I decided to do it as a Twitter poll. And so we didn't because you've been sick. We don't have a Jedi Mind Trap this week, but we do have a poll. So on my stream account, I said I'm looking at doing a Deadpool cosplay character. What class would you suggest? And the 4 that I put up were Operative, because gun and knife. It's the only class that uses a gun and a knife. Mercenary, because Deadpool's a mercenary. Sentinel or Marauder, because katanas, which basically you just get vibroblades instead of lightsabers. And then Scoundrel, because he uses a gun and there's a lot of humor in that story. And got a considering that account doesn't have quite as many followers as some of the others, pretty good amount of votes, 43 votes. Sentinel Marauder won. Scoundrel got, well, that was 44% of the vote. Scoundrel 23%. Mercenary behind that 18%, and Operative 14%. And I thought that was interesting. And some people were saying, hey, like I was shocked that Mercenary was, and it was at the time, dead last, although it pulled ahead of Operative at one point, so now it's only third. That's still really low, though, just because Deadpool is in fact a mercenary.
Yeah, but Merc with the mouth, not Marauder with the mouth.
Exactly. So what I decided to do was make 2 sort of Deadpool-related characters, and so I made one directly on Deadpool, and I made him a Scoundrel. And then I made a Gwenpool character, and I made her a Sentinel. And I'm pretty happy with the cosplays. I've got a picture of them in the show notes, and it's also on my stream account's Twitter feed as well. And they look pretty good. I think Gwenpool is actually pretty accurate. It's gotten actually more accurate than this picture. I've changed out her her gloves and her wrist a little bit and stuff like that. I'm pretty happy with the Deadpool one, especially because it was a little, some of it's pretty easy to kind of figure out like what's going to look reasonable, but like the belt was very hard to find because there's not going to be one that has a Deadpool, right, figure as the belt buckle, and there wasn't one for a similar G one for Gwenpool either. But I found one that when you dye it, it actually looks a little bit like Deadpool's symbol. Like if you just glance at it, it's actually almost sort of accurate. So I was pretty happy with that. And at first I tried leveling them up like in tandem with using like the leveling gear and then switching it between them. And that was just too complicated. It was a big pain in the butt. So I decided, okay, we'll just do Gwenpool first because she was already ahead at that point. And I'm just going to do her first. And then we'll get Deadpool up once she's at 75. And yeah, I'm also getting Lara Croft still through the story. She's been 75 for a little bit now. But I'm just sort of slowly like doing about a chapter a day. And now she's through Kotfi and she's about to start Kotet. So yeah, it's been fun. Just do a lot of leveling and stuff like that. I have been doing a bit on my main as well, just to get extra gear and make sure that we kind of keep that up. But they're geared up about as well as I can get them. So I've also been doing a fair bit of crafting. I didn't add this to my notes, but been doing quite a bit of crafting since the patch dropped last week, and that has gone reasonably well. It's still expensive to do a lot of it, but I did manage to make some to get my relic maker up. Like, so she's able to make like a purple relic, sort of a mid-level purple relic, and they sell for like millions on the GTN. So I'm actually at a point where I might actually be able to make some credits, which is unusual for me. I'm not usually I'm not usually doing so well credit-wise. So it's nice to actually get credits ahead, and we'll just kind of keep going and see what I can keep. See if I can eventually make gold gear or whatever. We'll see how far this goes, but yeah, that's been kind of fun too. It's going to be slow going to some degree, just because like it really takes a long time to get all that stuff up. But that's been a pretty good time. I think we're ready to move on to the tip of the week. And I see SWTORista's in the chat. Hey, SWTORista, and yeah, and apparently she's happy with the crafting changes. It's not impossibly expensive. Exactly. Yeah, that was the main thing. Although I noticed like there were some notes about how the chance to get a recipe has gotten better, and to a degree that's true, but not by very much. Like some of the very first recipes went up to like the old value of 60%, but you actually, like, if you're making the actual, like, not so much for biochem with like the stems where there's only a couple of steps, but if you're doing like the implants or relics or whatever, there's like multiple steps, like multiple greens, then multiple blues before you get to purple and all that, and it's not 60% all the way through green, so it gets difficult like pretty quickly. So a lot of them don't even change. Like they're still like at that low percentage chance. I've actually disintegrated a couple of the purple relics hoping to get the next one, but it has like a 10% chance, so it's pretty dang low to get to the next level. And I'm pretty sure the next one's another purple. I don't think that's going to get me to gold yet. So it's rough. We'll see though. I don't know what the whole range is. But anyway, let's get on to the tip of the week. We do have a tip from Kirk, and he says, I have a tip. Shadows and Assassins have dual-bladed saber staves, while other Jedi and Sith have single-bladed sabers. While grinding my way to 306 gear, I had a high-rated Legacy single-bladed lightsaber, but my Shadow had a saber staff with lesser stats. I realized I could equip the single-bladed sword on the Shadow while opening gear crates. This temporarily raised the gear rating of the Shadow. After opening the crate, I would re-equip the proper saber. However, one time I accidentally left the single-bladed saber equipped and aggroed a mob, and about 75% of my Shadow's abilities weren't available. But I could whack away with a single saber, yeah. So that's actually not a bad tip, but yeah, exactly, because like if you happen to get one, it's not quite the right type, but it is equipable. That's all you need. That's all it looks at, is whether it's equipped or not. It doesn't care that it's not the perfect set of gear for you. So there you go. And I would kind of go beyond that. Like if you happen to have like a piece of tanking gear, like if you level up a tank and now you're trying to get some DPS gear together, and you can give them some tanking gear, it won't matter. The game won't care, because it doesn't look at that. As far as figuring out what you're going to get out of the crate, it's only looking at the level of the gear. So yeah, that was good stuff. Thank you, Kirk. And apparently Kirk's gotten some characters into the Utini guilds this week, which is pretty cool. And he also is the guy who organizes the SWTOR fan cantina at PAX South in San Antonio each January, which is pretty cool. So he's met Charles Boyd there a bunch of times and all that. And he's going to be doing it again this year. And that's exciting. So once he has some details, he'll reach out to us, and we'll be happy to give him a shout out and help him get some people together for that. That's pretty awesome. So there you go. And since he's the only one sending in a tip this week, congratulations, you're the winner, Kirk. You're the winner of a Tonfon or M83R droid pet code courtesy of BioWare, and an OotiniCast provided cartel market pack from the latest shipment. If you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com before the next show. And we don't have a Jedi Mind Trap, so we're going to get on to the holo feed. All right, so When 9.0.2 dropped, the Alderaan Stronghold was teased on the fleet. Zam, for example, tweeted out a picture of it. Basically, if you went to the Stronghold area, there was a new kiosk for Strongholds that said coming, basically indicated coming soon, and then it had a picture in the background that was clearly Alderaanian mountains. So everyone pretty much knew, there you go, Alderaan. So... and we've had some extra information on that since then. The devs did have a live stream yesterday, so we're going to talk about that in a minute. But there's a couple other things that we should touch on first. Let's see. Eric did want to confirm that there won't be a double XP event for the holidays. There often is, but because they had a long one right before the run-up to the expansion launch, they're not planning on doing one for this holiday period this year. Eric did say he's not sure. Yeah, he said he's not sure when the next double event will be, but he would expect at least a couple of months. And of course, he'll let us know when that's coming. They always give you a little bit of heads up on that. There were a couple more troubles on the Tulak Horde since the last show. However, they faded just a few days after the last show, so 2 weeks ago, and haven't seemed to recur, even though there's been like another patch and everything else. So hopefully Tulak Horde and the other European servers are now stable. That seems to be the case, but that was a pretty rough patch for them. As someone who has been playing on the Harbinger, or what was the Harbinger, we can we can definitely empathize. 6.0.2 dropped. We've sort of talked about a lot of the things that were on here, really, and some of the information is sort of like, been touched on by later on as well. We've got the 8-year anniversary. The 20th marks the 8 years since the launch of Star Wars: The Old Republic. So the anniversary period for when you can go to the vendor on the fleet is December 17th, which is today.
That's today.
It's live. And that's going to go through January 7th. So you have a little bit of time, but definitely make your way to the fleet at some point and check all those out. Life Day is also that same period, so that is also now live. And that's, again, also going through January 7th. There's going to be snowballs. There's like a Hug a Wookiee thing that you can do.
Hug those Wookiees.
Hug those Wookiees. And so Life Day is available as well. There's some new missions on Mechshaw. The Mechshaw Trade House is looking for assistance acquiring goods from across the galaxy, and a new series of daily quests. I haven't done them yet. I went to Mechshaw at one point and saw some of the lists and stuff like that, but I haven't actually bothered to do that yet. So I assume you have not yet either, Doc. You've been mostly doing operations and being sick.
That is correct, and I've been doing great at both of them.
Awesome. Yeah. Ranks PvP Season 12 is also live as of 6.0.2. And we've already kind of talked about some of the changes. There's not too much here. The Frenzied Power Tactical has been added. And there's, it's on both sides. And yeah, there's a couple of minor changes. Valorous Call builds a Force Clarity ability charge. And Guardian and Juggernaut abilities will no longer trigger the air, cannot be used while stealthed, which I love because they don't have any stealth abilities.
Yeah.
Even temporary ones like the Marauder would. Yeah. And let's see. There's really not a whole lot going on. The main thing for 6.0.2, and we've talked about it before, is the change to the crew skill mission. So crafted items that are deconstructed will now always drop materials related to the profession, which is what they always intended. Reduce the amount of materials required to craft items of premium prototype and artifact quality that were introduced in Onslaught. And that's sort of like one of the main changes that actually makes things less expensive, because it just goes all the way up. Because you need greens to get blues, but then you need, more greens to get the blues to get the purples. So yeah.
Do they have it changed where you do get green materials from Rich?
Yes, that is true. The crew skill missions now drop more premium quality materials, and that includes the fact that Rich actually comes back with green now.
Good.
Not a ton of them, but enough that you can just do rich and then bountiful, and you're more or less at the right amount of stuff at that point. Wealthy yields cruise skill missions also reward more materials. I believe that they didn't specify that it's only for the Onslaught, the rank 11 stuff, but I'm pretty sure that's true. Pretty sure the other ones were already balanced. But that's nice to see. I've done one or two since then, and it did seem nice, but they're all good. Oh, by the way, the embers that you get every once in a while, like from deconstructing gold stuff, and you can get them from wealthy missions as well. Those were like a little less expensive before 6.0.2 dropped, and now the price has gone way back up. So it was, when Onslaught dropped, it was something around $500,000. It started sagging down to 400,000, 300,000. I'm talking about Satil Shan. And then right before 6.0.2, it was all the way down to like 250,000. And now it's back to like 500,000, 600,000. It's like gone way back up. So people are really crafting a lot now. They're actually, using up those embers. And so the price has gone way back up. So yeah. And you do get them from wealthy yield crew skill missions as well sometimes, which is nice. Crew skill missions that show as gray difficulty have had their failure rate reduced, which is nice because I always do like the Veda cloth and all that jazz still, just because it's cheaper than getting it from the vendor, but also because now the rank 11 one doesn't just have the white level stuff. It also has like a green and blue that you get those materials as well. So we're going to need that as well. So you have to run that skill mission anyway. You can increase the probability to learn an upgraded schematic from deconstruction, not by a lot, and especially if you, like I said, if you're doing actual armor pieces and actual like relics and implants and all that, there's like multiple greens before you get to blue, multiple blues before you get to purple. So yeah, it's not easy. Solid resource matrices are no longer required to craft items below artifact quality, which is nice, although it's still really expensive to make stuff that's blue or higher. Rebalance the overall inflow of materials by quality to be more in line with crafting costs, which is good. And crew skill mission trainers have been added to Alderaan, so I'm not sure how often they'll be used, but hey, why not? If you need to change one, or maybe you went straight to level 75, you can just go right to Alderaan. Yeah. So yeah, not too much else to really talk about 6.0.2. There's a bunch of minor little bug fixes and so on. So one thing I thought was interesting in terms of ranked, these are all ranked Warzone changes. Players who decline a queue pop or leave a match early for a ranked Warzone will now be unable to queue again for 15 minutes. They increase the rating penalty received for declining a ranked PvP queue or leaving a match early to 25 rating, up from 15. So they're trying to punish leavers, essentially, and also presumably this will make win trading more difficult as well. Made adjustments to matchmaking, or hopefully, maybe it'll make it easier in some cases, I don't know. Made adjustments to matchmaking, which previously allowed a single tank or healer to prevent ranked PvP queues from popping. And in addition to minimum rating requirements, each ranked PvP rank now has a minimum games won requirement as follows. So you have to win 25 times to get bronze, 50 times to get silver, 100 to get gold, and to be a top 96 person, you need 200 wins. Interesting. And although it was missed in their patch notes when they dropped, Eric did confirm that Theron Cedric's return is now available for consulars. And in fact, I've done that on a consular. So, and that was
great.
Yeah, so that was pretty nice. It was fun to have him back and chat it out. You could find out what he did, when you were gone and when you were in Carbonite and what he's been up to and all that stuff. It's good stuff. Let's see. There's also a 6.0.2a now that just dropped. And there's not a whole lot. It's a very, very brief patch note. It's not really, it's just bug fixes basically. So there's not a whole lot of reason to kind of go over this. Yeah, it's not really worried. Let's not worry about that.
We can skip it.
Yeah, exactly. So, the only thing that matters is that you're going to have to update your client when you patch and when you play your game. All right, so there was a dev live stream yesterday, and it was Musco and Charles for the most part, and then but after 30 minutes, and this was actually right toward the end because it didn't last much longer than that, Keith showed up as well, and it really focused on one thing. There was a couple of like brief mentions of other subjects, but it was basically all about the Alderaan Stronghold that's going to be coming. So Musco was running around the Alderaan Stronghold. It's a very large stronghold. That's like you can run all around it. It's size-wise, I guess it's kind of like Rishi sized, I would guess. Only it looks like it was feeling very open. Like there's a lot of open areas before you go into the actual buildings and so on. So there's a lot of like open spaces for you to do stuff. By the way, Musco is on this cool like mecha Acklay mount, and it was part of this Furious Gladiator armor bundle. And the armor bundle itself is really cool too. There's like these flames that come off the shoulder, and the Furious Gladiator, the face plate like goes down when you're in combat, and then when you exit combat, it flips up. It's very cool.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, it was really slick. So Furious Gladiator for the win, man. That was pretty neat. And then the mechanized Acklay mount, so it's like a robot Acklay, and it has its own like little flourish with like some things coming out its mouth and stuff. Basically, that was pretty cool. And yeah, so 6.1 is going to be early next year. At the end of the stream, Keith made it sound like it's likely going to be February. So we'll kind of go with that as a general idea, but we don't have anything more specific. There is going to be a PTS for 6.1, and it's actually live now. So because they said it was starting tomorrow, and in fact it is live now. The whole point of 6.1, the PTS, is to test out this Alderaan Stronghold. They are basically wanting feedback on it. At the end I'll go over like what they're looking for specifically. They did tease one thing, that there's like one little room that they're not going to actually show, and they did tease that it had something to do with the Killiks, who of course are on Alderaan, but so we'll have to watch for people who are like doing the PTS and see what that is exactly, but apparently it has something to do with the Killiks, which is kind of cool. They expect that the cap for maximum number of strongholds will be raised, because they always try to when they add a new stronghold. However, they always have to be careful about that, because they always need to test it to make sure that it's not going to strain the system in some way. The hooks are basically as many as possible. They always have to worry about performance, but yeah, they tried to spray as many hooks as they could, and it is a very wide-ranging and large stronghold. Very pretty, by the way. I mean, if you like how Alderaan looks, it's really, really nice. And it's very much in keeping with that look and feel of Alderaan, both the mountains and sort of the grassy plains, and then the buildings with like their very specific sort of architecture styles. And the exact prices are not known yet. On the PTS, you just spend 1 credit to open up each door, or each area. So there you go. There's a stained glass window in one of the rooms, which is pretty cool, and it was shining colored light on the floor and everything. They mentioned that they might do a stained glass decoration, but they don't have one right now, which would be interesting because, like, most of the wall hooks are not really designed to be windows. Like, you don't really see through them anyway. So it's like, would it let you see through the wall or in some way, or let light through the window? I don't know how that would work, but anyway.
When you say it like that, I almost wonder if it would be possible to make a decoration be a window, which would then make whatever wall hook
that would be cool.
Place it on, that you would see through it to the other side. And
I would love that. I don't know if they could do that or not. It depends on how things are sort of set up in the background, I guess. But it's a cool idea.
But if they did that and they're thinking about Alderaan, but someone decides to be really smart and go to Nar Shaddaa, do it, and now you're looking at just a black hole because it's not programmed.
Right, maybe, yeah.
That would be a really tough decoration decision, I think. But windows are important.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's a neat idea, Chill.
Yeah, that would be cool. There was one room that I thought was really nice, and that was sort of up above in the bigger. There's like two buildings, kind of, but the main building had like this upstairs area, and then there's like this big patio sort of thing with which they said had room for a hot tub. And it's basically like a viewing area, because like there's this really beautiful like landscape with like the mountains ahead of you, and like, you know, the sky and everything else. That was really lovely. It was really, really cool. And let's see. And then early January, they're going to do a more robust testing of 9.1. This is meant to be a short one. It doesn't sound like it's going to be up that long, but they just want it to be up long enough for people to sort of give them feedback. They did. Let's see. Let's go ahead and go back to that right now. When he said that the PTS is live, this is not part of the live stream, but part of Eric's notes. This is the sort of feedback that they want to have on it. What is your general feeling on the Stronghold? Are there any specific rooms you like or don't like, and why? Please be specific. Does the Stronghold feel too big or too small, and why? If you could change one thing about the Stronghold, what would it be? Does the increased hook density feel too cluttered? Does the number and placement of hooks feel too restrictive given the Stronghold's decoration cap? And is there anything else you want to add? So that's the sort of things that they're looking for. They're just looking for general, you know, feedback in this case. Of course, you know, I'm sure if there's bugs, they would like to know that too. But they really are looking for like aesthetic feedback in this case. They did sort of almost as an aside, they did give us this little hint on how they name patches. So this is something we can think about in the future. If it's like 6.1, something like that, if it's a 0.1, then it generally has story in it. If it's something like 6.0.2, there's generally no story in it. However, 6.0.2 actually had story, but that was only Theron Cedrax's return, and it was supposed to come with an earlier one. So 6.0.2 was like making up for something that they weren't able to get out earlier. But generally, so if you see a 6.2, we can expect that will have story. If there's a 6.1.1, then that presumably won't. At least that's kind of cool. It's always nice to have these little like behind the scenes things, you know, how things work for them and everything else. They did give away a couple of Furious Gladiator bundles, which is pretty cool. That was that armor I was talking about earlier. At the time of the giveaway, I checked, and there was 1,047 people watching the stream, which is pretty cool. The one other thing that they kind of talked about were like, and this is especially once Keith came on, they talked about like return of companions. Zenith is apparently in the works. No time frame, however, so it's not going to be real fast. And then also Kim Val, like what happens if you left Zash in Kim Val, or what has happened to Zash herself, because she wasn't exactly killed. She was put into this. If you free Kim Val from Zash, you don't exactly destroy her. You put her in this Rickaden thing that and apparently you dump it into space. You know, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she's gone. So potentially she could come back as well.
Doesn't she come back in the Nathema conspiracy though? If you're a Sith Inquisitor,
does she? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you defeat a droid or something that's possessed by her.
Oh, okay. So she is back in that sense. So I wonder why he mentioned that. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. So maybe he means like even after, maybe she's not even dead after that, because if she was only possessing that droid or whatever, then presumably destroying the droid isn't going to destroy her either. Yeah. And then he did mention like where a companion's voice actor has died since they were originally doing their work. He's usually kind of reluctant to kind of hurry the companion back because they have to think more about it. You know, it's like, and it's also just more difficult in general because they have to decide like how they're going to match the voices and everything else, presumably. They did say in terms of strongholds, there's already been lots of calls for Alderaan, and there was a lot in the chat as well. Apparently people like how Alderaan looks. They asked if there was interest in smaller strongholds, and the chat had a lot of yeses for that as well. And they did confirm that as soon as the Mandalorian started showing, that they started asking Lucasfilms or LucasArts about putting a Baby Yoda in SWTOR in some way.
Oh.
So in other words, they had the exact same thought that we all did, which is how can we get Baby Yoda in the game? And now he's called the Child. The episodes are now calling Baby Yoda the Child, so I guess you can call. That's still not exactly a formal name, but hey, it's all good. So they are also looking at either some sort of return of the Dark and Light event, or at least some way to get Master Reynos back, because it's been now several years, and there hasn't been any other way for people to get that one if they weren't involved in the game at that point. They know about the interest, but they don't have a time frame yet. And they didn't talk specifically about the ZO chapter and the HK chapter that gets you ZO and how that's now available on the cartel market. But they did talk in general that, that when something is sort of specific to a time frame, if it's also story, especially if it has story involved with it, they want it to, they want people to be able to experience it in some way. And Keith, did show up. He said lots of people are returning to the game due to Onslaught, and Onslaught has been very successful. That's always good things to hear. And and Eric was very happy about the Life Day and Anniversary stuff coming up. So I can't wait to check that out later today. He also mentioned that in January is when they're expecting to sort of be able to reveal new things. Like right now is not really a good time to reveal much of anything else beyond the Alderaan Stronghold. But yeah, so we're looking at January before we're going to sort of learn some real new stuff. And that's sort of typical because, people go on vacation and so on. There is on the PTS a known issue where there is, like every other Stronghold, when you first go to a Stronghold on a character, there's supposed to be an intro cinematic, and right now it's not playing as intended. But apparently the PTS is live, and you can go check that out if you want to. So yeah, I would. Yeah, some people are saying yes, Dark versus Light. I still have Santa and Satan from Dark and Light, so I would be happy to take place on that again, or have that take place again. Alderaan Stronghold, is that one you're going to be going after, Doc? Is that one you really like?
I mean, I'm sure I'm going to love it. I just got the Rishi Stronghold a couple weeks ago, though, and have not decorated it much at all.
Right.
It just feels really daunting to decorate any of these anymore.
They are huge. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have enough decorations to do it even. I don't think so. It's just it's tough because I want it to look nice, but I also want that bar to be filled. And so to fill that bar, I've found that you have to give up the desire for it to look nice. Like chairs everywhere. So, I love lecturing people, but I don't typically lecture them in the halls and in a bedroom and in the waiting room and in the lecture hall and then also everywhere else. So chairs don't belong in many places. Right. But yeah, I love Alderaan. I love the music scheme that they tend to have throughout that whole planet.
Yeah.
It's just really tranquil and ironic and just
right.
Sad.
Yeah.
But sad with a peaceful bent to it. And it's probably just that way because we know what's going to happen in a couple thousand years.
That's right.
It's just a meta feel to the planet. So I think it's a great destination for a Stronghold, definitely.
I agree. And in general Star Wars news, The Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9, that's coming later this week. I'm going to be watching it on Friday. I'm really excited to see it. It had its world premiere last night. There isn't any critic score or anything like that, or even any individual critics yet on Rotten Tomatoes. There are some stories out there about people showing their brief initial thoughts from some people who saw the premiere, but just to avoid, even the hint of spoilers, I'm not going to include those here. But yeah, I'm really excited. I'm going to see it on an IMAX screen. I'm really happy to see it on the big screen. How about you, Doc?
Yeah, I'm also seeing it on IMAX. We're going Thursday night. and I actually have my sister and one of my friends. Both of them were on my original raid team. They're flying over to Arizona to see it with me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because for us, Star Wars is a huge part of our friendship, relationship, family. So
That's sweet.
I convinced them to fly across the country to see a movie.
Yeah, I understand it has a pretty long runtime, so I'm happy to see that. I mean, and it makes sense if they are. I mean, maybe JJ is being true to his word, but and maybe Lucasfilms ends up kind of changing things. They could potentially do that, but apparently J.J. Abrams has said that he's trying to wrap up the whole saga of Skywalker, and that makes sense that it would therefore be a longer than normal movie. So I'm excited to see how well he does. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid spoilers. I actually SWTORista actually put up a little hint as to a way you can, like, if you use Twitter a lot but you want to avoid the spoilers, just you can mute tweets that have certain words in it. So you can mute the hashtag rise of Skywalker, stuff like that. And yeah, so I actually did that. You can actually do a temporary mute. You don't have to make them permanent. You can just do it for. I did mine for 7 days because that'll be past the premiere, or past when I see it anyway, and that'll be fine for me. So I'll hopefully avoid spoilers that way. I can't really guarantee it because I'm on other social media. I'm on other accounts other than my personal account sometimes on Twitter. So, and I don't want to mute everything. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, if if you're really worried about spoilers, that is one way to potentially do it. Yeah, and it'll be really interesting to see how well they do. I mean, we've had a lot of sort of big conclusions to series recently, and some of them, like Game of Thrones, had major backlash and major problems and issues and all that, and it was big drama. So it'll be interesting to see like how well is this one do, because on the other hand we had Endgame, which was a pretty remarkably good wrap up in my opinion, and pretty generally I would say most people are relatively happy with it. I personally enjoyed Endgame more, or enjoyed the one before it more than Endgame, Infinity War more than Endgame, but I think Endgame did its job pretty well. And so now we have another big one. So, yeah, and this is, I think, I saw some news. I didn't actually write it in the show notes. So I believe Frozen 2 is like Disney's $6 billion movie this year. Wow. And I can pretty much guarantee you, I mean, maybe it will or won't hit $1 billion, before the end of the year, but it's pretty much guaranteed to be $1 billion movie, I would imagine, if it does well at all. So that's a lot of scratch. That's a lot of money. Yeah.
Well, there's so many factions inside Star Wars that it's inevitable that there will be a lot of hate for this film.
Right.
There will be a lot of love for the film too, but the thing I've learned about people that have joy is they share their joy and they move on with their life, whereas the hate lingers because they don't have anything better to do. Right. So, the way these films have fallen so far, there's people who love The Force Awakens and hated The Force Awakens. And then, so that's like group A and B. But then there's people who love The Last Jedi and those who hate The Last Jedi. So now there's an AA and an AB, and now there's a BA and a BB.
Yep.
So everyone who sees this movie is either going to feel validated because the direction went in a way they were hoping for, or they're going to feel shunned because it went in a way that they would not have taken it if Disney had not had the courage to pay them millions of dollars to write and direct and shoot the film. So that's my take on it, Chill, is if you want to enjoy the movie, please do.
Right.
And don't let social media change the way you feel.
That's right. And yeah, and I will undoubtedly see it more than once. At the time that I bought the tickets, this is when it first did it. I wasn't sure when my son would be home from college, so I'm just seeing it with my girlfriend. So I'm gonna have to see it again pretty soon with my son.
Oh no,
because he is home now. So
have to see it again.
Yeah, exactly. Darn. We'll figure out the exact timing, but probably within a few days, of Friday when I see it the first time. But yeah, I'm excited to see it, and yeah, I'm sure we'll have some things to say about it next episode, but we'll be very, very careful about spoilers, especially that first episode after it drops. So yeah,
But what do you mean? We're not going to just drop a disclaimer and have a OotiniCast spoiler cast saga encapsulating review show?
We can absolutely do that, but I think we should wait, at least at least in a show or two before we do that. I would say, for one thing, I think we should it'll probably take some time to digest. My guess is that, first, I'm hoping that it's at least a movie with enough depth that you're not just going to get everything from it on first viewing. I'm hoping it's not that kind of movie. I'm hoping that it's going to be something that we can sink our teeth into. So, and if that's the case, then we definitely have to take a little time to digest and see more than once, and probably more than twice, but we'll see about that. Anyway, so I think, is there anything else, Doc?
No, I am happy to cross the finish line with you here.
Awesome, man. And I hope you feel better. That's 8 days, you said? That's a long time to be sick. That's not fun at all.
I got hit by mass affliction.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And then it got refreshed.
My healers are not paying attention.
And it got refreshed.
Oh, man. Worse.
All right, then. That's the show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Satil Shan server, or in our Guild on the Empire side, do a /c join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live bi-weekly on Tuesdays at noon Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby, and thank you to the chat room, and feel better, Doc.
Thanks.
All right, and we'll see you next show. Thanks everyone for coming, and I'll be doing some editing and blah blah blah. Have some lunch. The edited version of the podcast will be out tomorrow, and we'll get the YouTube version out later today as well, but they'll just be the raw version that you just saw. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for coming. All right, stopping the stream.